Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne, inviting you to join me on this journey. What happens when the thing you can't see, the thing hidden from view, suddenly becomes the one thing that changes everything? For my guest today, Julie Hyde, the hidden thing was melanoma. It arrived quietly, without warning, and revealed itself in a way that stopped her in her tracks. In that moment, her world shifted from business as usual to a life at stake. Julie has spent over 20 years helping high-performing leaders cut through the noise and lead with clarity. But this was different. This was personal. This was about confronting mortality, re-evaluating identity, and choosing a life of purpose over pressure. Today, Julie shares the story of how melanoma altered her trajectory, reshaped her choices, and ignited a passion for life that fuels everything she does now. This is a conversation about discovery, impact, and the power of living with fierce intention. Julie, I'm honoured to have you here. Let's begin with your suddenly different moment. Can you take us back to the moment of discovery when something hidden revealed itself and changed the course of your life?
Thanks, Leigh-Anne. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. That moment for me was back in 2021. So it was during the fabulous COVID times here in the world, but specifically here in Victoria, in Melbourne, where the world's worst lockdowns were. So what I noticed was a growth on the arch of my foot, which was melanoma's starting point. And you can see the puzzled look on your face. And a lot of people go, on your foot. But yes, so that's where it started. And apparently it's very common. And at first, I wasn't really sure what it was. It looked like a strange mole, but it kept growing. And I saw an ED nurse for another reason. I just got her to check it out. And she said, oh, that's a wart. You can just treat it like a wart. And it progressively got worse. And I went to see a podiatrist, and he also diagnosed it as a wart and treated it as such. And it wasn't until I had noticed like a lump on my thigh, and I was feeling incredibly tired, that I took myself off to see another podiatrist. And it wasn't easy to do at that time because of COVID, and you had to be an urgent case to see specific professions. But I did manage to get myself in, and she wasn't sure what it was, suggested I go and see my GP. And I did get in to see a GP. And I think when she saw it, coupled with the growth in my thigh, she got me in to see a dermatologist really quickly. And also I had to have a biopsy on the lump on my thigh. And I remember the date. It was the 7th of October in 2021. And I was walking up a hill in Richmond towards the surgeon who was going to remove that growth in my foot because it was getting to the stage where I couldn't walk properly. And I can remember feeling incredibly sick, and I thought, something's just not right here. But of course, you never think that it's going to happen to you. And it was during that visit, after we waited quite a long time, it was right at the end of the day because he got me in quite quickly because it was an urgent case in the end. And that's when I was told I had stage 3 melanoma cancer that was aggressive, and I would find myself in hospital having it removed 5 days later.
My goodness, that must have been shocking at minimum, terrifying.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge shock. I can remember sitting there, and it felt like I was going down a really steep slope of a roller coaster. When the air is rushing past you and that feeling in your stomach where you're just falling. I can remember that's how it felt. And I was just a deer in the headlights. Like I wasn't really taking anything in beyond that point. So I was really lucky that my husband was beside me and he took in all of the information because yes, it was shocking.
Yeah. So, what was it like for you to hear the word melanoma and know? And how did it land for you in that instant?
Mm. Well, when I heard, like I knew of melanoma, but I don't know, I really didn't know that much about it other than it was a skin cancer. And I had no idea that you could get it on your foot. And then it could spread. Like I really didn't know much about it. And of course, you go home and Google what's going on, and that's the worst possible thing you can do because 10 years ago, my chance of survival was incredibly low. Whereas now, of course, it's a whole lot better because of the amazing people who have been working tirelessly to get melanoma diagnosis to 0 deaths. But just in that moment, it was shock, it was sadness, was anger. There was a whole lot of anger involved with that. Why me and how does this happen to me? Like I'm a relatively healthy person. I look after myself. So why me? I think they were, it was a whole gamut of emotions, but I think they're the clear ones. It was the anger, the shock, and just sadness and just fear of what is to come. Because I was a very healthy person up to that time. So I had no experience in the medical arena, major operations, nothing like that. So I was like, oh my God, this is a brand new world. So it was a lot of fear around that too. And it was like, am I going to be okay? And no one would tell me that. And still to this day, no one has said those words to me, you're going to be okay, from the medical fraternity.
I too have had a melanoma on my back, which I found accidentally one day after a skydiving experience, and found that even though I got the pathology report back saying that it was a melanoma and that I was extremely fortunate that it had all been got and it hadn't got to my bloodstream, but that my GP didn't take it more seriously because had it got to my bloodstream, it would have been a double another matter.
Mm-hmm.
I gather yours was in your bloodstream.
Yeah. And it had spread to my lymph nodes, which, once melanoma spreads, it's not an ideal situation. So that's why for you, when you get it so, early, most cases, 90% of cases when you catch it early can be removed by surgery and you don't have to have treatment after that. But if it spreads, that's where the game changes. So you need to receive treatment for that, or in most cases, you receive treatment. And for me, 4 years later, that treatment is ongoing. So it's a massive game changer if it spreads. And that's why I'm very passionate about sharing my story, because melanoma can be prevented. And particularly for our younger generation, I grew up in a time where we weren't sun smart. I got sunburnt so many times. I love the sun. I still love the sun in a very different way, of course. But, we didn't wear sunscreen. I used to wear coconut oil. Crazy. And I don't have skin to tan. So, yeah, it's, melanoma is not the thing, not the cancer to get.
No, and I used to use baby oil and lie in the sun for hours, and we didn't know what people know now. And I know I look at my grandchildren and they tell me, Grandma, we need to put sunscreen on.
Yeah.
We're going outside.
Yeah. That's so good.
So having guided leaders through pressure and uncertainty for decades, how did it feel for you being in the seat where you needed to guide you through this uncertainty and to prioritize your own health and more than likely keep it all together for your family.
Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you're the coach and you're helping other people to handle their own, stress or change. But when you're in the hot seat, it's another matter. And, I think at first moving through that shock, the anger, because, what has happened to me in terms of it becoming a stage 3 and the highest stage 3 that there is, it could have moved to stage 4 very quickly. There was a lot of anger around that. And I wanted to get revenge, if you like, for people who have caused this to happen to me. That was my mindset at that time. And there was a lot of talk about that because my husband was really angry as well. Our life changed on a dime in that moment that I was diagnosed. So there was a time where I was feeling very, oh, is me, poor me, this is shit, and what's going to happen to me now? Who's going to want to work with me? But it was in the hospital actually where I thought, how can I help myself here? Because exercise has always been something that supports my mental health. And because I had like a 50-cent piece hole in my foot where the melanoma was cut out, and I had a 30-centimeter scar from, my thigh to the middle of my stomach, I couldn't walk. So I thought, how am I going to create a routine that is going to support my mindset? And that's when I started meditating and I started journaling. So that was the first point of call where I really started to manage my mindset and really turn it around from victim mentality to what I call victor mentality. And that's a framework that I teach to leaders and teams, which is called above the line, below the line framework, where you can sit as a victim in whatever situation that you're facing and blame and judge and poor me, sit in your comfort zone, all of that sort of thing. Or you can get above that line and get really curious about how you can support yourself, about how you can take ownership and responsibility for your situation, regardless of how hard it is. And in my situation, I had to take ownership for where I was at. And I had to take responsibility for that because I could have made different choices at different times, but I didn't. And it's a hard pill to swallow. So that above the line, below the line framework was incredibly powerful for me. And the meditation in terms of really calming my mind, because there's a lot of what ifs. What if the treatment doesn't work? What if this spreads again? What if it comes back? And it did come back. And I had to manage my way through that. But I think that was one of the most powerful models that I adopted together with my mindset. So it's really understanding, okay, who do I choose to be at this time? On any given day, in any given moment. And that's been really powerful for me because I've always been someone who's very proud, I suppose, of their personal brand and the perception that I create. So while I certainly give myself permission and still do at times to feel sad, to feel, anger if that boils up, or, a bit of regret, I certainly don't allow myself to feel that way because it's like, who do I want to be right now? And what is the outcome that I want to achieve? And I firmly believe that I'm going to be cancer-free and stay cancer-free. That is my absolute, belief outcome. And so then what are the behaviors that I need to implement to achieve that goal? And I just focus on that. So 2 very simple strategies, but they are incredibly powerful.
It's vital to take that responsibility, right? As humans, we're always going to have emotions.
Mm.
But it's my understanding from different teachers I've had that actually the emotion that is not attached to a story actually only lasts between 16 and 60 seconds.
Mm.
And then it can go, right? So we can feel that anger, we can feel that sadness, and we can allow it to flow through us, release it, and then move on, especially if we've got goals that are, beyond ourselves, which yours are. You can't be working in leadership without having very big, ostentatious goals, I'm sure.
That's right. And there's only one thing that you can control in this whole, at any time, in any moment in the world, and that is you. You can
Yes.
only control you. So that's why I chose to focus on me. And if I wasn't hearing what I needed or wanted to hear, I would advocate for myself. And I still have to do that, as been through the medical system.
Yes.
You really have to advocate for yourself and not be afraid to do that. So it's a real, I suppose, situation where you have to use your voice.
That's right. And to hang on to it and keep using it. I know in my health journey, it's the same. I had I had a diagnosis for liver cancer until after they'd operated and the pathology was done, and it wasn't actual cancer. But I had the same fright of being told, you've got liver cancer, it's got to be somewhere else. Let's find where else it is.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you always have that concern, even when you're told it's not there, you've still got the concern it could be there.
Yeah.
But again, controlling my mindset, focusing on what I can do to energize my cells, to love my body,
Yes,
to
absolutely.
do everything that I can. And it sounds to me as though that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah, it is interesting because I found myself at certain points in time wanting the old version of me back, like the version pre-cancer of me back, because it's like, oh, she was amazing. Like she achieved all of these things. She was fierce. Like she was really successful. And now you sort of go down that track and it's, that realization where you have to let her go. I can't hang on to her anymore because she's not me anymore. And, I'm a more resilient, stronger, smarter version of her now because of what I have been through. And, you make a really important point, which is to really, love your body and thank it for what it does. And I have to remind myself to do that in situations because I can be quite hard on myself and think, you need to be better. You need to be stronger. You need to be doing more. So it's a very good reminder. And I think for anyone who's listening, whether you've been through something or not, to really honor your body and that temple that gets you around this world.
Without our body, we're not here. Now, with beyond work, what role did your family and your friends and the support from the community and the simple acts of love and compassion that people gave you, how did that help you with your recovery?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. The tribe that I had around me at that time, particularly my husband, like he was my rock through the whole way. And it was very difficult for him because when I was in hospital at certain points, he could not come and see me. So there was no visitation rights at that time. So I think it's sometimes harder for the carer in those situations because I know what's going on. I know how I'm feeling. I know how my body's feeling. And he's sort of the secondary to that. So yeah, he was just incredible support. And he also asked a lot of amazing questions that I would never have thought to ask. So he was my intelligence, if you like, going through that situation, and just my absolute rock. And he had to wait on me hand and foot there for quite a few months. So he was like the superhero of the household. But family, like my sister, was amazing. Just the constant check-ins and little thoughtful gifts, and visitations. And of course, like my really close friends, because I didn't tell a lot of people around that time because I just wasn't ready. I was digesting it myself. I was trying to come to terms with it myself. So I didn't want to talk about it all the time. But my friends were incredible, like cooking meals and little gifts, and even our local cafe where I used to go all the time to get coffee, like they'd send lunches, coffees, just and little messages to say, hey, thinking of you. And yeah, it was a really special time to realize who's in your corner without even having to ask, because these people just jump straight to it. On the day that I told them that I'd been diagnosed, like so many meals came um, for the freezer and for Craig, and they checked in with him as well. So yeah, it was really incredible, that help and support. And even, during stays in the hospital, because I stayed for 2 10-day stints in the hospitals, the nurses were just so thoughtful because I couldn't have visitors. And so they would offer to get me something like a coffee or just set me up with something. And I also forgot to mention, because one of my loves is flowers. So the amount of flowers that I got in the hospital, like to brighten the room and to brighten up my spirits, was great. But it extended past my family, because my clients at the time, who I was still working with through COVID because they were deemed a necessary profession, they were incredible. The support that they offered me to wait for me to come back from recovery for when I was ready, and the patience that they showed because I was a bit up and down, was just amazing. So it just shows you, when you surround yourself with the right people, you just get so much love and care and support, and so much more than what you give, you really get back.
And it probably isn't easy for you to see from their point of view, but they were repaying you what you give them. The spaces that you held for them, the awareness that you had helped them find, the things that you'd helped them learn, the things that are priceless. And your life is far more important than any strategy or tip or trick.
Yeah.
You are a vital person, and to know that your client stood by you really makes me feel more confident that the world is a caring place, and it does have compassion in business, community, and in our inner circles.
Yeah. Absolutely. We see so much bad stuff happening out there. And, sometimes you can lose your faith in humanity. But in situations where you really need people, like human nature is, you want to help. And particularly with those people that I had around me and still have, it was just, yeah, it was mind blowing. It was really humbling. It was, yeah. Even now, people, would still provide me the space to speak about what's going on if I want to. And quite often they get a little bit frustrated if I don't talk about it, like if I don't update them. Because I'm not one to go, oh, hey, I'm feeling terrible today. It's like they do. They want to know how they can support you. And that's for so many other situations as well.
So understanding that you were misdiagnosed many times, right? And that will be possibly, as I found, is people have learnt one way of interpreting a thing they see and going, oh, that fits into that box. Right, it's that. It's wart. Right, that's a wart. And they don't go any further. They don't say, well, if it doesn't go in, 10 days or something. Because maybe if they'd removed the wart at the first opportunity, it would have only been a small growth.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose if someone had have done a biopsy to find out exactly what it was, it really didn't look like a wart so much. We could have caught it sooner. So instead of people slicing my melanoma, which only, proved to make it worse. So
Yes.
curiosity is the key with these types of situations, I think.
Well, it is important for us to stand up and question, right? Because in the medical profession, they have blocks of time that they allocate to us that are subsidised by the government. That's all they've got. They're trying to do the best they can,
Yeah.
but we have to take control. And you did, because you kept going
Yeah.
to more and more places.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the condition had continued to go as well.
Yeah, exactly. So thank God I did push.
And that's what I've had to do.
Mm.
I had to keep saying, I'm not right. I'm not right.
Mm.
And that's what we need. If we don't feel right, we know how we feel. And it's not all in our heads.
No, that's exactly. So that's why I say we really need to advocate for ourselves and don't take no for an answer. If your body is telling you something, if your intuition is telling you something, you need to get the answer, that you're looking for. You need to get things explored and also not to put off your health checks. You're not to leave it to the last minute. It's so incredibly important to keep these up and not to sacrifice it because we're busy or we don't have time or there's other things to do. There'll always be other things to do. And, I did have that mindset before my diagnosis, but it's amazing how we can change our strategies and our priorities when something bad happens. When we get a health diagnosis such as this, or someone else close to us does, and all of a sudden health becomes a priority. Without your health, you have nothing. So it really needs to be a priority.
It absolutely does. For those who are listening, who might be ignoring those signs, might be continuing to work through, might be thinking it'll never happen to them, there's no family history of it, or what invitation would you offer from your journey?
I think it goes back to what I said before. It's to really, you can only control you. And I never thought it would happen to me. You probably never thought it would happen to you. But cancer, as an example, does not discriminate. And you can be the healthiest person on the planet and cancer will come for you. Heart attack, same thing. So many fit and super healthy people have had a heart attack and passed away. And they had been experiencing, tightness of the chest or chest pains. These are all things our body is trying to warn us that there is something wrong. The growth on my foot, something was wrong. The tiredness I was experiencing, something's wrong. I was speaking to someone only yesterday who found a lump around her groin area, and she was telling me about it. I said, that's not okay. You need to get seen, and you need to get seen immediately. It might be nothing, but it also could be something that you can get onto now. So it's just prioritize you first. And take your health seriously and just make the most of this incredible life that we have in our hands right now. Because I can tell you, when I was diagnosed, the only thing I wanted to do was live. That's it. I just wanted to live. Everything else sort of faded into the background. Your job is not as important as your health. And I just really encourage people to take that seriously and to book in and have your checks, get your breasts checked, get everything checked, and just make sure you're okay and do it consistently. So I think that's my message from what I've gone through. And, for something that was the worst possible thing that could happen to me so far has been the biggest gift. So it's not life ending if something does happen, but it's certainly better to prevent rather than try and cure.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that the leaders who you are working with will be benefiting from your experience and also learn about to lead in a more health-focused, wellness-focused way.
Mm, yeah. One of the big things I try and share with people is the power of the pause. It's just, pressing that stop button. It sounds so simple, and it really is, but it's just carving out time to think and reflect on what's going on rather than getting caught up in this vortex of busy and just going and going and going and going and going until you stop, until you burn out, until you get sick. And then you stop and you think, oh, I should really take care of myself. Whereas when we pause for a moment, elevate our thinking, we can get perspective on what is going on and ask ourselves some really powerful questions. What's really working for me now? What's not working? And what do I need to change so that tomorrow is better than today? And as a leader, I encourage people to ask, how am I being as a leader today? What are the results that I'm getting? What's the feedback? And how can I be a better leader tomorrow? And including into that, how am I feeling? What's my intuition telling me? What do I need to hear? And what am I ignoring? So it's just that
Absolutely.
it's such a powerful thing to pause and think and tune in to what's going on, because your body is giving you signals. It's whether you take notice
Absolutely, all
and
of the
whether you hear
time.
them. Yeah.
So yeah, what are you not paying attention to
Mm.
that your body's telling you? And it could be get off the couch, or it could be have a rest on the couch,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And there is no polarity to that. There is no good or bad. It is interpreting the right message.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yes. So Julie's story reminds us that life can change in a single glance, a single word, a single moment, when the hidden comes to light. Melanoma could have taken her story in another direction. Instead, it became the wake-up call that redefined leadership, identity, and joy. If you take one thing from this conversation, let it be this. Don't wait for life to force your attention. Listen to your body. Honor the whispers and choose to live with intention before you're asked to. Julie, thank you so much for bringing your truth, your resilience, your beauty and passion for life to Suddenly Different.
Thanks, Leigh-Anne. Thank you so much for holding the space for me to share my story and for having me as a guest on your podcast. I really appreciate it. And for what you're doing for people out there who are listening to your conversations. It's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So thank you.
Thank you. This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.